Welcome to the Conscious Journey podcast. And I know it's been a hot minute since our last episode. I've been out and about living life, touring, exploring, discovering, and that's exactly what today's episode is about. It's about self-led living. My entire life, I have, let's say, marched to the beat of my own drum, and I've always been looked at as like the weirdo. Funny enough, I never really cared. And I didn't understand why. I didn't understand why I didn't care. And I didn't understand why everyone was following a system that didn't make sense to me. I was like, why are you doing this? It doesn't make sense. Like in school, I would sit out and stare out the window, not paying attention because I was like, why am I here? You're teaching me stuff that I'm literally never going to use in the real world. Who needs Pythagorean theorem? And I know someone might pop in here and be like, yo, I use that. Okay, dude, you could have discovered that in like college. We don't need that. And it was a prison that I absolutely detested. And it tried to cram me in a box, and for many years as a child it did. It did cram me into a box. I didn't speak out as much. I wasn't as outgoing. And some people who knew me, they're like, oh, you were pretty outgoing. I was like, well, could have been more outgoing. Like I am now. I withheld a lot. And today we actually have my buddy boy, Adam Walton, joining us from the Mental Mastery Alliance. You know, he's my favorite guest on this podcast because we riff it real good. So welcome, buddy.
Welcome back, Lucy. I am happy to be here. I have a feeling that this is a this is a very good platform to engage a lot of people on. Your audience numbers are great. Your audience, from the interactions that I've seen, are a very intelligent group of people, and I'm honored to constantly be coming back here. I also know it's easier to do a podcast with two people.
Way easier for sure.
to get some energy and some message out there, and just the conversations that I've had with you. You've got a lot to teach and a lot to say, but you're not there yet. And this is a huge lesson for anyone listening.
Anyone.
Yeah. And it's not that she's not there. I mean, you're there. You're completely there. Right? You have the gifts. You have the skills. You have the knowledge. You have the
no problem talking
experience.
To people. I have a problem talking to myself in front of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yes, you can absolutely help people, but sometimes there's no rhyme or reason to how we get to where we are. Like, why was I able to speak as well as I was out the gate? I don't know. We have these natural gifts. We have these natural talents, and it comes down to us being able to utilize them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can find somebody who connects well with you and with your energy and with what you're doing, then you get to be able to pull it all out. So again, I say all this because to anyone listening who wants to start a podcast, who wants to start a coaching program, who wants to start living their lives, the only thing stopping you is that voice inside your head that was programmed to tell you that you can't do it. This is the very same system that's inside your head as the system that was telling Kristy that she needed to pay attention to the classroom and not look outside the window. But I'll tell you this, if you keep talking that way, especially in old world, I guess the last 5 years really opened everything up because everything went so absurd that now it's kind of okay to talk about certain stuff. But 5-10 years ago, this right
Isn't
here,
it exciting? Yeah,
little tinfoil hat that I'm wearing right now, which you can purchase over at the Mental Mastery Alliance /tinfoil hat. Get your own hats,
I'm a mad fan of that hat. I actually have a couple myself.
Shameless plug. If we're thinking for yourself, I remember the height of COVID. I remember them saying, it was a direct quote, and I'm going to bastardize it because I can't remember it exactly, but critical thinking is dangerous at a time like this, was something along the lines of that quote. In other words, if you think for yourself,
because you're going up against the scientists who know everything.
Yeah, you could cause harm. You're spreading misinformation.
Yeah,
and it's come to fruition sort of after all that all of the misinformation that was out there, it's like, okay, so if I'm not allowed to believe somebody with a podcast and I'm forced to believe you, but you appear to have been wrong the whole time, how am I supposed to? And it's not a matter of going up against the conglomerates or anything like that. It's a matter of understanding that The very system that taught you to rely on the very system that taught you to rely on the very system.
But the whole point
You
is
see
like,
the loophole.
what's the point of the system, right? The system is there to keep people not questioning things. We were raised in school to pay attention, to get good grades, because getting good grades is so important because it's going to be the future of your life. So
Yeah.
pay attention. And anytime you weren't paying attention, we'd be reprimanded. We'd be given detention. I had teachers throw, chalks at us. Like, it was punishment if you weren't paying attention. And then, the older generation would be like, well, I used to get my hands slapped with a ruler. Okay, again, punishment. Like, it's the same shit. It's just a different generation.
Yeah.
We're getting punished for not paying attention.
We were taught 100%. We were taught to follow the system. So all of the education system never taught you how to do anything. It just taught you how they want you to think.
How to remember. It taught us how to remember the data they fed us. It didn't teach us critical thinking. It didn't teach us, okay, if this is the thing that you're teaching me, what about the other side? They would never allow us to look at the other side.
Correct.
Ever.
Yeah.
And if we asked it in school and we asked an actual intelligent conversation, we shot it down and be like, you can't argue history. Well...
I mean, apparently now we can, but that was a very bold statement back then. You can't argue the facts. I'm like, well, you know what? You're right. I can't because somebody wrote it down and here it is. But now you realize that, okay, so I'm not arguing the facts. I'm arguing the point of the man who wrote it down and the fact that you're teaching it to me. That's interesting.
Only facts until more information is provided. And then that's a new fact. And you're like, well, what's a fact then? Is the fact even real?
Yeah. And to those watching this podcast, I'm going to say this quickly just because I keep looking off screen. I'm dog sitting this week. So I have a very tiny, beautiful little blonde Chihuahua. And it's a bit skittish. So I keep looking to make sure it's okay as she's looking back at me to make sure she's okay. We're playing a little game here, but that's what I'm doing.
You're not used to dog language yet.
No. And, she's been here a few times, but this time her mom's not here. And so she's confused as to what the hell's going on would be my guess.
Where's my mom?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I figured this is a great intro to self-led living because it really the system has taught us to follow the system. And that's all it's done. It create good worker bees that don't ask questions, that follow orders obediently in the workplace, and then gets a paycheck, and then they go home, and then they do it again and again and again until they're 65, and then they retire, and then they can start living.
Well, unpopular opinion is that they never abolished slavery; they just perfected it. And I say unpopular opinion because there's so much history and lineage that the powers that be put into the, I don't want to say illusion of, but the retrospect that only that white owning black slaves was slavery. And when you actually look into slavery, you see over the course of generations how it actually manifested throughout the lineage of time. And now it's all the same thing. There's no race involved in it, but it's all corporate slavery. Like there's this game that we're playing right now in Canada, which is how much money can we make our minimum wage, and how much money can the people be? And what I mean by that, and that sounds a bit convoluted as I say it, but we just had a 30-cent hike in minimum wage, and the newspapers went all over the place talking about how great it is for lower income people to get 30 cents an hour more.
Yeah, but watermelons are $8, 30 cents, big fucking whoop.
And well, exactly. But in the same breath, gas went up 30 cents a liter, and most tanks are 80-liter tanks. So if you're going to give me an extra 30 cents in an hour, and assuming that I can work, 8 hours a day? Let's just arbitrarily say 10 hours a day, right? So I'd have to work 8 additional days to offset that one tank that I'm going to fill up. But the news media had it everywhere. Now, I don't want to make this a conspiracy episode. It's not.
It's not conspiracy. No. This is all facts. It doesn't line
and
up
this is just one of those things where it's like, please, for the love of God, allow us to start asking questions, which we finally are. Which brings me back to the tinfoil. You're no longer crazy if you're asking questions. You're actually leading the pack. Now, there's another clothing company that I'm going to bring to everyone's attention right now that may not be watching and or listening. You're wearing a shirt built from within, and you've never done any promo for that shirt.
No.
So I'm going to do some shameless promo for you as well. Built from Within, ladies and gentlemen, is an entire mindset movement This is for all of you who wanted more, who stepped into purpose, and who continue to do so. This clothing line represents absolute movement, absolute change, and absolute alignment. And you'd be foolish not to represent that clothing line for yourself if it aligns.
I have to hire you for my marketing.
I also do really good with voiceover work. Yeah, but I love it. I love the clothing line. So head over and check it out, ladies and gentlemen. Instagram.com/built-from-within. There is a webpage coming, but I think that you can buy the merch right now off your website, right?
My personal website,
KristyMorrison.com.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a movement, and it's something that I've created because, again, it's tying actually into this entire episode of self-led living. Self-led living is building yourself from within. All the answers are within, and we need to start detaching from this system that we've been sold. And if we're labeled conspiracy theorists for asking questions and for thinking critically and looking at the other side, you say, look over here. As soon as you tell me to look over here, I'm going to look over here, because what are you distracting me from? I want to know. I want to know what's over there. I want to know what's in front of me. I want to know what's behind me. And that's the only way you can come to a decision. Because if you're only looking over here and they're like, oh, look at this. This is what we're doing. And you're like, oh, that's cool. And you're missing an entire world on the opposite side that you're not even questioning or even showing any interest to. And that's exactly what the news is doing to a lot of people. Especially the older generation, they say, the ones in my life always say, well, it's not on the news, it can't be true, or they're not reporting it, so it can't be that important. Well, come on. Like, when the media is funded by the very people who benefit from not telling you what's over there, you would have to think that you might want to start looking for your information elsewhere. But that's only me. So if I'm crazy for thinking that way, so be it. I literally don't care what people think. And you mentioned prisons earlier. The perception of others having on you is also a self-made prison.
Yeah, it's a prison of your own thoughts, yeah.
Thousands of them in this world, and we're breaking free, and our goal is to break free from it. Debt is a self-made prison. We have to keep working to be able to pay it off, but it's free money. Nothing's free. You have to work to pay it off. So if you're not living within your means and you're only living in debt, that is a form of a prison. Having a mortgage on a house, and yes, I'm in real estate. I do not believe in living outside your means. So if you have approval for $1 million and it's the two of you, why are you spending $1 million to have a mansion when, sure, it looks great, but you're going to be a slave to that mortgage for well over 30 years? And when you could scale it down and go travel the world or do something fun with that money instead. Well, these are things that were sold that we need to have.
Yeah. And that, that again, it's not like saying money is a trap. I mean, it is, but it's not, money, much like air, means nothing until you have none. And so for me, I look at that and I think to myself, okay, so I'm not necessarily upset with money because it's part of the system. I'm not even upset with the system because it is interactive. It shows you what you need to see. The system isn't working against you.
It's working to teach us.
Yes, and being able to spot the patterns in the system, like one of the things, for example, is we all grew up, not we all, but people of our generation, if you're 39 and older, you grew up with Pimp My Ride. You grew up with MTV Cribs. And you thought to yourself, these artists live here, they do this, they drive this, these are the things that they have. Mm-hmm. These are the things that I want. Right. But now going back and looking back on it, you're like, wow, the whole thing was fabricated. All those guys were in rental crypts. The cars were never theirs. You hear all these horror stories about how the record labels just let you borrow cars or whatever the hell it was, and so there's an entire generation of people attempting to live up to or keep up with the Joneses, as it were. Meanwhile, the entire facade of the Joneses is collapsing behind closed doors. And so I look at that and I think to myself, okay, so we're not talking about money. We're not talking about this because there's always a way to make more money. There's always a system in place that will allow you to make more money. So the very system that we bitch about is the system that allows us to change. It's our interactions with that system and our thought processes with that system that keep us a prisoner. So it's not so much money that is a shackle. It is your vision of money. That's what they say. What was the biblical term? Money is the root of all evil. The actual term is the desire for money is the root of all evil. And so when you don't desire it and when you just sort of manipulate it and control it and work in and within it and find the things that you love to do, You know, and we live in a world right now where if you love rock climbing, you could set up a tripod and have it record you climbing a rock, right? And it looks really cool. And then you do a voiceover, all from your iPhone or from your Android, and you do a voiceover, and then you pass it through a really cool editor. So you don't need any skills at all except for to set up a tripod, press record.
Yeah, and then you have people who are like, "Oh, that's too much work. I don't want to do it." I'm like, "Really?
Yeah.
Being stuck in your career for 60 years to eventually retire is too much work? That to me sounds like too much freaking work."
Well, and they
dictate how much you make. Like,
1,000%. 1,000%. So the idea that I'm locked into a contract making $100,000 a year, working for somebody that I don't want to work for, and suffering every day is okay inside the minds of the people who don't want to figure out how to press record on a camcorder.
Yeah, that's living on autopilot.
1,000%, which is what you were talking about, which is what, you know, the pre-conversation of this podcast was. And that autopilot, you know, and ladies and gentlemen, we live on autopilot 99% of the time. Even those who are waking up live on autopilot. And if you don't believe that's true, two things I could say to even those who are the most awake: be actively aware of how many times you reach for your cell phone. Put it in a different room and see how long you wait. Secondarily, when you're driving your car, and this happens to us at least once a day, you just snap back in like, holy shit, I'm driving the car.
You're in the zone.
Yeah, that's your body on autopilot, right?
Yep.
And so when we don't even realize that we're doing that, how are we supposed to become aware of it? And this is, again, built from within. This is intentional living. This is becoming aware of our actions. And this isn't a preachy podcast either. This is just a holy fuck. I've experienced this myself. I'm seeing this myself, and other people are seeing it too, but nobody's talking about it. So how do we get people talking about it? We start talking about it.
I think also too, it might be interesting to share our most recent journey that we went on. We took a trip out to Alberta.
Yeah.
And it also led to some decision making on my end for something. So I know that what we feel called to, or what really what we're really drawn to, is something that is meant to be in our life. So I have always, and you as well, have always been drawn to like the simplicity. I didn't know I was seeking simplicity in my life until the world became so chaotic that it was obvious that I've become detached from the simplicity that I adored as a younger child.
You were a ball of chaos when you rolled into my simplistic world. And you were on your way to simplifying absolutely everything. So that's kind of a funny perspective.
But it's also too, like, I've been working through simplification, and that simplification journey has been evolutionary. So I'm a ball of chaos in your world, but for me, I've come leaps and bounds in my simplification process because you didn't see the work that was done over the years. Like when I was selling my staging business, I think that was like the number one moment where I was simplifying. I had that dark night of the soul, which we talked about on another podcast. I woke to something being like, there has to be something more to life than working 24/7, 365, always on, like, working during vacations, never having time for friends, never having time for family. And I was spiraling, and I was just like, something big is coming into this world. I don't know what it is. Like, there was so many things being shot at me, and that was my intuition talking to me, and I didn't even know it at the time. I'm like, why do I feel like this? This is crazy. I'm crazy. Why am I talking to myself? Like, what the fuck is happening? And that was the first moment where I was just like, okay, my staging business feels like I'm fighting. It feels like I'm fighting with myself. It feels like I'm fighting with the system. It feels like there's no flow anymore. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel harmonious. It doesn't feel, like it's fueling my soul. It felt like it was draining me. And every time I would, take on a client or a project, it took more and more and more from me. And there came a point where I answered the phone, and I was just about to be like, what the fuck now? And thankfully I caught myself, because when you're in business, you can't exactly do that. But I was like, okay, that's a signal. I'm done. And that's when I sold my company. And then once I sold my company, that flew me into depression for about a year, because I was so ingrained in being a boss babe, kicking ass, and really hustling, like developing that hustle culture. And that hustle culture was eating me alive.
Yeah.
So that depression was like, Yeah, it was that depression and laying on the couch for almost a year was like essentially my detox phase from running a business. Thankfully, I sold the business so I can afford to like die on the couch like that, metaphorically. And there's many things that have gotten to the point where I am now, where you see me enter your life, and the evolution of simplicity is still happening. And for a very long time, I was pulling out some old journals, and I think it's been at least a decade, maybe a decade and a half now. I don't feel like Ontario is 100% not what it used to be, and I don't feel comfortable anymore. I don't feel at home, and it doesn't feel like there's a flow. But also, I also understand the grass is not greener on the other side. So when it comes to following your intuition, I'm acknowledging this feeling that I'm not in enjoyment in this moment. Is there something that I can do here? Or is there something else out there that I need to be evaluating? And well, I love Alberta. I love what they stand for. I love my views align with the Albertans way more than they align with the government mindset of Ottawa. And I am not quiet about it. And so I have a lot of people who love me or hate me because of those views. And living in a city that doesn't align with your views, it's heavy. It's a heavy time where, you know, I am not always living as authentically. Like, I'm an authentic person, but I can't live truly authentically without causing rifts, and I don't care to deal with them. And I'm making that conscious choice to be like, you know what, I'm just not going to open my mouth on chemtrails because you clearly don't understand what the hell's going on.
Mind you, the last post you put on Facebook that went viral was about chemtrails.
Was about chemtrails. I know.
Right? So it's like the very system again that we're trying to fight against is the one that rewards you the most. It hits you with the dopamine if you talk about it.
Well, I also noticed too. I posted about chemtrails at least 8 years. It was pre-COVID, and everyone made fun of me. Like, I had very little interactions, and a lot of people made fun of me. And that post had over, you know, lots of likes. I don't even remember how many. And the dialogues were so clear on there. And I think there was maybe like 2 or 3 people that were like, I'm in Ottawa, I don't see a chemtrail. And I send them a photo. I'm like, I'm in Ottawa, and this is exactly what it is right now. Phil.
Well,
Like,
and so that's one of the things too that you're seeing now. Where back in the day, like you were really told to shut the hell up, and the system at the time was, it's the people, it's the bot people that are on the you know, they're just chirping you, and maybe it's real people, maybe it's not.
you can't argue with people who choose to be asleep. You can't.
And they're programmed. They're programmed to do it. We're all programmed. Everybody's programmed. Even waking up is a program. So I look at this and I think to myself, you know, what happens now is we see more and more and more evidence that it is shifting in our perspective. Because when I see the people chirp the chemtrails, I'm like, it's so obvious now that you chirping it makes you look weird. It makes you look weird for chirping it. And that's what I really like about sort of how this universe is playing out.
Well, the tables definitely have turned, for sure, because before it used to be the masses saying we're crazy. Yes. And now we're seeing, it's not necessarily the masses right now, but we're getting close to mass point where a lot of people are like, you know what? They're kind of onto something. And I think it's hilarious. Like, I think it's a badge of honor when someone calls me a conspiracy theorist, because I'm like, oh, cool. That means I critically think and I can see things that you can't. Thank you for the compliment.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a fun fact because the government coined that term long ago. I forget, like, you know, the 50s or 60s or some shit, because they were
the Kennedy assassination.
Okay, and they coined that term to distract people from actually seeing the truth, because everyone wants to belong. It's part of that system that we've been taught. We want to belong. We don't want to cause problems. We don't want to look weird. But and that's why they said, oh, they're conspiracy theorists, don't listen to them. And then all the people who were like, oh, I don't want to be like them, they're making fun of that guy, and you want to belong, so you're going to stay on the side of people saying that they're wrong.
Well, the
But
powers that be
now it's different.
made a direct movie about this, and Don't Look Up. I mean, it is
Yes,
there's never
yeah.
been a more direct movie about the fact that they are fully aware that they're lying to you, and the main message throughout across everything was, don't look up. Just simply don't look at the asteroid in the sky. Don't look up.
Yeah.
Right? So the people in the movie, they're like, it's coming. And then other people are like, you're crazy. You're crazy for thinking that it's coming. You're crazy. That movie deserves a rewatch, for sure.
I agree.
I've seen it not 1,000 times. I've seen it probably twice. But every single year I gain new knowledge. And so it's like they've got all kinds of hidden stuff in that movie. It's just such a slap in the face. It's hilarious.
And so I would say that the biggest part is in self-led living. You need to get clear on who you are as your own individual, not what you've been taught, not what you have learned in your religion classes, your schooling, your parents, your teachers, your workers, all of it. Everyone has this type of influence in you.
Right.
And it's our job to receive the information being given to us and then be like, okay, does this resonate? Meaning, does it feel good? Does it feel light? Does it feel, yes, like a part of you? Or does it feel heavy? And it's like, ugh, no, that's gross. For the majority of people, you can use like a crazy example and be like, hey, killing kittens is great. Most people will be like, oh, that doesn't feel good. That's the same type of feeling when you're like, do you want to be friends with Karen? I don't really feel good when I'm with Karen. Or, you know what? Karen's dope as fuck. I love being around her.
Just after that last statement, I gotta slap this here.
Disclaimer. If you're going to soundbite any of this podcast, you must soundbite it in its entirety for consistency and context.
Take that, internet trolls.
Oh my god. I mean, isn't it? I think it's hilarious that there's times where people will soundbite things so tight and they're just like, yeah, she loves killing kittens. Fuck off.
They'll just take that one too. Wait a minute. What the hell's going on around here? So speaking of our last adventures, we did go on a grand adventure, 10 days out west. It was quite a lot of fun. Super big shout out to Mr. Richard Lawrence for all of the assistance.
Hi, buddy.
And the tour guiding. You are a gentleman and a scholar, and one day we'll have you on the show once you learn to properly communicate with humanity, good friend.
We'll just throw him under the fire and just make him do it.
Do it, Richard. Get on the show. Tell us your stories.
Yeah, so we went to Alberta to acquire information, and that's all I'm going to do. It's not being like, oh, I have to do this. It's, okay, what is it like? How do I feel? How does my body feel there? Is this something that I can enjoy long term? Is it something that I'm seeing for my own eyes? Because if you're not seeing it for your own eyes, it's a story. It's a story someone's told you, and it's a story someone is trying to give you information.
And cool thing too, even if you are seeing it with your own eyes, you now have to remove the story that you've been told. Even though you're facing it and touching it, that story is still in your mind. So you have to be like, I need all of the physical information and I need to remove all of my preconceived notions.
Yeah, so it was nice. It became very clear to me, and I always knew this. I knew big cities were not for me. I do not like downtown Ottawa. I do not like downtown Calgary. I mean, cool to visit, but I do not want to live in a space like that. I am definitely connected to nature, and driving up to Cochrane, which is just outside Calgary, I really like the country cow vibe. Like, they're all ranchers out there. Simplified. There's homes everywhere, rolling hills, so you can actually be on the top of a hill and you're seeing the entire town down below, or whatever, wherever your home is. And it wasn't until we drove up to Canmore, Alberta, I was just like, dude, these are my people.
Absolutely.
And they're my people. Why did you say they're my people?
Well, you've always had this vision too of, having a camper, traveling the world, living in a really nice spot, but also traveling everywhere. And the wildest thing too was getting into Canmore, and you see all these beautiful houses that at one point weren't $1 billion, but they are now. And so these people have a really good nest egg in that house. And also the town of Canmore pulls in tourists all over the place. People want to buy there all the time. So the ultra rich will buy there. And so what you're seeing now is there's a lot of money and a lot of influx in that town for a lot of, I guess, people who were grandfathered in. And I will say that aside from all of that, just simply making an observation, there's all these really nice houses. None of them are massive, but they're certainly well thought out. Well, some of them are massive, not going to lie. But the majority of them are just very well thought out, beautiful little homes.
And they all have architectural detail.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the neat thing too, and this is why I say they're your people, is 50% of those people also had RVs in their driveways.
Yeah, RVs, camper vans, or some type of camper. Yeah.
So when your modus operandi is to own a nice house, to work clearly enough to afford that nice house, yet own the RV, which implies that you also work with enough time to spare for travel and adventure and excitement. The essence of that, like, I've never met so many people that had your specific vision in place. So for you, absolutely, Canmore is, if money were no object, I could see you waltzing into Canmore, setting up shop, and living happily ever after.
I fully believe money will not be an object, and I will be living there one day.
Well, here's how I look at money. Money, you now know the cost of life out there. I mean, groceries, et cetera, et cetera. You know the cost of the houses out there. And money simply exists for you to be like, okay, so for me to get to that vibrational frequency, these are the steps I need to take to get there, because money's not hard to earn. It is if you're making a set amount of money working for a company. But if you decide that you want to pour your passion into something that's going to earn, then the only thing stopping you is that voice inside your head that says, nobody wants to buy my shit, listen to my story, purchase my art, buy my books. Nobody cares about me. And that's very true, but it's also unruly in an egoic stance. Prime example to anyone listening, and I hope some of you are still listening. I never specifically went looking for Alan Watts, for example. I just knew that I was on a frequency and I was traveling, and that man started speaking and resonated with me more than anybody I had ever experienced in my entire life. So Alan Watts didn't write his books and his memoirs and give his speeches and say, I hope one day Adam Walton finds me.
Yeah.
He said, I'm going to do what I need to do, and those who need to find me will find me. And so that's why I say that to all of you who are thinking about getting started, getting going, doing your thing. It's not about who you are. It's about what your message is. It's about what you need to create. Because once you align with that and once you step into that ideology and that mindset, you're going to create. And those who need to find you are going to find you.
Yeah. And it was pretty funny. And I learned that somewhat recently, more so than anything. I've been on social media for a while. I think pretty much since inception. And we all treat it as like whatever. And there was this woman, I don't know, a few months ago. She's like, you're an attention whore. And I was just like, I reflect on that. And I was like, this is funny because it's coming from a woman who's afraid to be seen.
Yeah.
She hides behind so many masks, and she's calling me someone who lives outward and authentically because I don't give a shit what people think. You love me or hate me. That's on you, not on me. I'm just living.
Yeah.
And that was one point where I was just like, wow, the projections and the traumas that are in people, it'll always be there. And to a lot of people, what would that do? That would make them shut down and be like, oh, I don't want people to think I'm an attention whore. Oh, woe is me. Like, that's not who I am. They won't ever understand. I'm not living to justify that I am living the way I'm living.
That's also the system chirping you. It's trying to silence you through that individual.
Correct.
Right? So they say that you know, your prayers are answered through people. And your prayers are certainly things that you want, but they're also, if Kristy prayed for strength, then some asshole could come out and chirp her. Some absolutely unhinged lunatic who does not believe she's unhinged, but she is completely unhinged, can come out and say whatever she wants to say about you. And I'm not talking about anybody in particular, or maybe I am. And so when you've got a raving madman who doesn't believe that they're insane, attacking you, that's the universe answering your prayers and
Yes.
showing you that you don't have to bow to the negative energy of these people who are totally afraid to do everything.
Yeah. So if I cared about her opinion, I would have stopped posting. And then
This is a fake person we're talking about here, by the way. No, actually, that's a real one.
That's a real one.
The chirper,
I didn't say their name, but one, she's either listening to me and telling me everything I'm repeating, blah, blah, whatever. I
love living rent free in people's heads as well too. And when you were talking about that, you reminded me of the meme. It's like, what was the meme? It's like, imagine hating on me, and I'm just over here playing with these ducks, and I'm like, that's just the greatest thing in the world. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
I'm going to live in your head, and you're going to hate on me because of one mild interaction that we had while you were probably having a bad day, or maybe I was, and you're going to just hate me for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, these ducks are adorable.
The rent-free element is great.
Yeah, it's true.
But if I allow that to obstruct me as who I am and not share my journey, I shared a post. I would say it's probably a month ago now, and my post is about denouncing the system. I always have, but I've done it quietly. But I verbally denounced the system, and I said, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with what we're taught. It's clearly not working. We're overworked, underpaid, super stressed. Our health is in the shitter. Our systems are in the shitter. Like, you sold us this system and you want us to keep working in it, and it's not working. So I'm out. I'm not taking part of it. I am removing everything in my life to not be a part of your system. And I'm going to give up things that you think you told me I want. And I'm going to sit with it and be like, do I want this or do I not? And when I made that video and I shared it, that was actually probably my most viral video. And I'm going to say viral for me because someone listening will be like, oh my God, they got 80 million views. No, I'm like a little person right now. I think it only got like 4,000 views.
It's pretty viral.
That was the most amount of views I've ever had on anything I've ever posted. And the amount of people who sent me private messages or commented on that I could not believe it, because they are also relating to it. They're like, I agree. I don't believe in the system. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm figuring things out. I would love to detach. How do I do it? And it just started opening up conversations about how broken the system is and how people are sick and tired. And we've said it a million times in both of our podcasts. Until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change, you'll never change. And I think we're there. A lot of people dedicated their lives to a system and they're hurting and they don't want to hurt anymore.
Correct.
And that's why I think it's so exciting, because if I listened to that lady and not be an attention whore and didn't share what I'm doing and what I'm feeling, it wouldn't have reached those 4,000 people and opened up the conversation of relatability between all of us. We all are thinking the same thing. We all have these feelings of heaviness. We all don't want to be alone and we don't know where to go. So what are we going to do? We're going to unite and we're going to start having these conversations. I think it's exciting.
I agree. I'm looking forward to it. But that's the thing too. Like, you know, in my journey, in my travels, I've removed negative and positive. Like, I don't believe in good and evil. And that confuses a lot of people because that is the construct of the majority of everything, right?
But that's also a level that you, personally, I get it. I completely agree. And once you're operating out of a place of neutrality, the world opens up again. But we're in a position in the world, especially on this podcast, I want to help guide people to understand the difference between heavy and light so they can start guiding themselves. And once people start guiding themselves, then we can reach a point where we can teach them neutrality.
Sure.
You don't go from freaking shit show to neutrality like it's nothing.
No, 100%. You also and neutrality isn't a bad place to be. It's actually an acceptance of the entirety of everything, and then navigating your way through it. And so I personally, I adore this world for what it is, because every single thing, as much as we don't want it, is the thing that makes us stronger. You know, you go to the gym. Some people don't want to go to the gym. I get that, but the gym is amazing. So it's a mindset. Why don't you want to go to the gym? Okay. Walking out of the gym, you feel like $1 million, but it's effort. You know, it's so much easier to sit on the couch and eat a bag of chips than it is to go for a walk around the park. But the walk is amazing. You see so much. There's nature out there. There's things alive, you know? And so again, it's not the world that's killing us, right? People are sitting there like that lady that chirped you.
The system's the system.
She had the opportunity not to chirp you. but
Correct.
she chose to chirp you. Right. And so again, we have what's referred to as checks and balances. And maybe sometimes, that statement will pop in your head and be like, maybe I am being a bit of a show off on this one, or maybe this isn't as authentic as it can be. But again, we fall back on Don Miguel Ruiz, the 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word. And when you live with full integrity, there isn't an ounce of you anywhere that wants to shit on anyone for doing anything. I mean, that's a gray statement, but I mean, if you're out there and you're trying to do something, if you're fully living with integrity and somebody decides to chirp you, what you're seeing is that person's lack of character. You're seeing a coward run their mouths, what we used to call keyboard warriors, because these people, for the most part, won't say it in front of your face, even though they'll bounce up and down with their little 5'2" height and be like, I'll say anything in front of anybody. This is also a generation where talk shit, get hit doesn't necessarily exist. So, they've phased out quote unquote bullies and they've made them seem bad and all this sort of stuff. But in a world, again, the yin and the yang, I was bullied as a kid and it made me stronger. Too. It made me understand things better. It made me not want to be a bully moving forward. But it also made me understand that the bully is getting picked on at home. So the kid's not just acting out because he's a dick. He was programmed to be a dick. And if he interacted with your life as being a dick, then it was for you to understand the contrast between somebody who's going to be a dick and somebody who's going to be nice, who you need in your life and who you don't need in your life.
Yeah.
The weirdest thing in the world is the crisscross applesauce that makes us want to go for those who treat us like shit and dismiss those who treat us great. Right?
Because
how weird
our
is that?
systems are wired to that, though. Yeah. It's comfort. So yeah, you're bang on, and that's why a lot of people, especially these days, have toxic relationships. Is because they are looking for the relationships where they have that fire energy, where they're like, "Oh my god, I can't get enough of you," and then the guy or the girl will pull away, and then they chase them, and then it's this push-pull dynamic. And our bodies, over the last however long, when did relations start getting shitty? I would say when options started opening up and when the internet became a thing, people started getting really shitty and doubling down on these toxic relationships and only looking for the ones that fed into their insecurities and oh, they make me feel really, really good. And he's not an asshole all the time. I'd be like, no, you don't need to suffer in a relationship.
I can't just break up with him, Dane Cook. My CDs are in his truck. You don't understand. I love that shit.
That's also, again, when it comes to self-led living, it's paying attention to your body because your body is talking to you. It tells you how you're feeling. And we override that feeling and justify it with our brains. We say, oh, no, he's a good guy. Oh, no, he worked too hard. And I'm saying he, whatever. Replace it to a she if it's a guy listening. Same thing. We justify it.
I think it's hilarious
within
that
our brain.
In this day and age that we have to clarify that. Oh God!
Oh my God!
I've said he and she, and somebody's going.
I know.
But here's the fun thing too. Remember this, guys. Remember, to those listening and to you, Kristy. Anyone that chirps you or comments on your podcast, no matter what it is, they're not denouncing you. They're showing you their level of maturity.
Correct.
And on top of that, every engagement is a good engagement for the algorithm. So
come at me, bro.
Yeah, come at me, bro. Exactly. Bring it out.
Yeah, so you made me lose my train of thought.
I'm sorry. Your train of thought has a million stops, though, so I'm sure we can pick it up.
So we can pivot into denouncing. So I mentioned in that podcast that went viral, I was denouncing the system and it was all bullshit. Again, I am outlaying on the Built From Within Instagram page my journey of deprogramming further and removing myself from the system further. And the part that we loop back into Alberta is all those people were living a life that I've always felt called to. They're in nature, they're hiking, they're biking, they're skateboarding, they're snowboarding, they're outside living in these homes, staring at a stunning mountain. They're doing it, and they all have some type of cool-ass camper van or RV in their laneway. And I was just like, that was the moment where I was just like, holy shit. These people, they all look my age. It's not like I walked into a room of dinosaurs. Arena, yeah, and they're all like, oh, look at me. It took me 90 years to get here.
I made it.
No, they were all my freaking age. And so I anchored into the, you know what? Anything's possible. If it's meant to be, it'll be, and I'm going to do everything within my power to do it. And that's another part of living, self-led living, is you have to commit 100% of your efforts into doing what you want to do. And if it's meant to be, it will be. If it's not meant to be, it won't. And you can't say, oh, I want, for example, when we were in Alberta, what did we find? We found a really cool ass camper van. Class C camper van. It was $6,000. Looked like it was in mint condition. It was huge. Owned by an old man who restored it. You talked to him, had a great conversation, and we hung up, and I kept thinking about it. I was like, okay, yes, I need this. Yes, I need this. Yes, I need this. We called him, and then by the time we called him, which was like the very next morning, he was like, oh, sorry, I sold it. That was not a forced thing on our side. We weren't like, we have to go, we have to do this. You have to go with the flow of life. And if you're making rash decisions and forced decisions, that's when you can make bumps in the road.
It also would have been cool to get that thing, but here's my problem with that. It was almost too good to be true.
No, it's too big. You know what? It could be too.
It was big, yeah. But at the same time, like it was one of those things where either this guy didn't know what he had, or it was too good to be true. There's something that was off.
It could be, it could be both. And I
at the
fully
same
believe.
Time, yeah, sorry to cut you off again, but at the same time, that thing had to go the 3,000 plus miles or kilometers
back to Ontario.
to Ontario. And if you decide to go back out there, it's going to be over close to 7,000 kilometers you're about to put on that thing.
Yeah.
And it was in 1979.
Exactly.
Right. So yes, it would have been amazing, but there were a lot of signs.
Everything happens for a reason, and I fully believe that. So we committed saying, you know what, let's go check it out. And I probably would have bought it if I saw it and it looked as great as it did. But everything happens for the reason. So we came back to Ontario, and I continued casually looking, and I've been looking at camper vans. I would say at least for a year and a half, because I started looking at them back in the day when I bought my tow behind. And I was evaluating the difference between a tow behind and a drivable one, and I decided to do a tow behind, which I ultimately figured out through you is it's a lot to have it drag and it's vintage. Yeah. Anyways, I pick up looking again back here when we get back in Ottawa, and I do a wide range in the search, and I see this post, and it looks like a pretty cool vehicle. I sent it to you, and you're like, oh, that looks like it's in great shape. And I was in Ottawa, and you were in Mississauga, and the van was in Mississauga.
It was right around the corner from me, yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, do you want to go look at it? And you're like, sure. So you saw it the very next day.
And even if I took a look at that and you'd asked me to go take a look at it, if I looked at it, I'm like, this isn't, just in the pictures alone, it's not going to be worth our hassle. There were two.
Yeah,
well, three,
and I trust you on that. Yeah.
Including the one out in Calgary. There were three that we've seen all together. One was the first one, Andrews.
Yes.
I really like that machine. And yeah, we probably could have picked it up, but he got more for it than we were willing to offer. So that's
correct.
Good.
That
out
works
well
for him. Great for him. Yeah.
And then coming back to this one, this was the third one that I'm like, this one deserves a look. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, you looked at it, and I trust you implicitly. Like, I know if you say it's not worth it, it's not worth it, it's gonna be a whatever, blah blah blah, don't bother. So you saw it and you were like, yeah, this thing's mint. And I was like, should I get it? And you were like, sleep on it. So I slept on it, and I was like, everything's telling me I need to get this thing. And so that's the point where I'm calling in the universe. I'm like, that's the point. I'm like, if I'm meant to have this, make sure that all my ducks get in a line. And the universe is going to test you to see if you actually want it. They're going to put roadblocks in the way. And if you give up and you say, oh, it's too much work, then you're never going to have it. But if you're able to go through these roadblocks, and we saw it, and it was like, what, we talked at 9 a.m, and then by 10:30 I was in my car driving to Mississauga to go see it that day. I see it, and it was in great condition. We were negotiating on the price, and
spoiler alert, people, her car is still here.
we negotiated a price, we agreed to it. But I also had like this kind of stressed feeling. I'm like, I don't want to pay this amount of money if it fails an inspection. Like, I'm going in, and I don't want to put in another 5 or 10, because then I'm back at all these other ones that I've been looking at for $20,000.
Yeah.
So we made an agreement. The guy brought it to get inspected, went with flying colors. I was like, that's cool. That's a great sign.
To get
And
something
then
30 years old without a drop of rust on it is
yeah,
unheard of.
zero rust because it was from Florida, never seen winter, stored in a garage, like
Yeah.
mint.
Yeah.
And then we go through looking for insurance, and I think it took me like 6 insurance companies. And how many people would give up after the first 2 or 3?
Well, they're
all like,
between them and the appraisers and all that, they're like 95. They're like, no, first
we're
off,
not
no.
touching it.
Yeah, it's not off. Don't even bother bringing it in. Like, we're not even going to look at it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's a junker. We don't need it. I'm like, you haven't even seen it. How do you know if it's a junker?
Yep.
So those are the hurdles that I'm talking about. These are things that are put in your way to find out how badly do you want it. And that's going to happen in anything that you want in life, whether it's a business that you're launching, you're going to have hurdles.
The thumbnail for this episode should be you off the back of the thing. Yeah.
If you go through the steps with 100% of your capacity, meaning you're not hurting yourself or putting yourself in a bad situation to get this done, because that's force. Force is not a good energy. If you're doing everything you can within your power to make it happen, then it will happen if it's meant to happen. And if it doesn't, you put in 100% of your efforts and it didn't happen for a reason. Maybe it's a lemon, maybe blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. But if you are in alignment and you're actually having these systems and things thrown at you, jump through them. So yeah, I went through 6 insurance companies and what we called like 4 to 7 appraisal companies. And a lot of them were like, no, we won't insure it. We won't insure it. We won't insure it. So what do? Ask questions. I say, okay, there's a group of people who already own this. Where are you guys getting your insurance? Like, hello. And then that's when the doors started opening. They started saying, try this company, try this company, try this company. And it all depends on what it is and how you talk about it. I learned that I wasn't even explaining it properly. And that's why the first 2 were probably saying no. I was like, yeah, I need to do a van that is for camping. And they're like, it doesn't make any sense. So getting really, really clear and jumping through those hurdles. So yeah, now I own a vintage 1995 Dodge Ram 1500 camper van in mint condition. And you're going to see all the adventures on the Instagram page.
Yeah. I think what hurts me the most in that entire sentence was vintage 1995.
Oh my God, I know, we're old.
How did we get this old? What is going on?
But also too, that goes in line with who we are.
15-year-old me is vintage.
It goes in line with who we are. It's my simplicity seeking. You and I have always agreed that we love vintage cars because it doesn't have the bullshit tech. Like, look at your eyeballs on the road. Everything is all for your safety, and it drives me nuts.
Well, that's another thing that we saw too. The rental car was beeping at us and alerting us to pull over and get a cup of coffee. It's like, hey, calm down, take a break. You've been driving for too long. And
yeah, it was like 2 hours.
That's step 1 into totalitarianism. Step 2 is we're stopping the car now because you've been driving for too long. And so safety first, they say, and you're going to have a lot of bots and NPCs and those who are programmed to be like, yeah, it's a great feature. I'll tell you this. I own a 2020 right now. And that I can, with almost the utmost certainty, say that is the newest car I will ever own. And my next car will certainly be an older car, hopefully 90s, 2000s. It's fascinating to watch what you went through with that van to understand that insuring it's going to be a bitch.
But also, too, do you remember how many people told me not to buy it? They're like, oh, it'll be impossible to find parts. Dude, I was just in Canmore. There's like 90 of them right there.
Yeah. Where we were buying it from, there was another one in the parking lot. And I don't understand that negative mentality. The new parts are expensive. So if you buy a new one, you're paying over $100,000. All the parts are stupid expensive. These old parts,
and they have computers that die because
old
Bill
parts
Gates
are
doesn't know how to do it.
And interchangeable. You can go to, I mean, I'm sure there's still wreckers out there that exist. $50 for whatever you can carry out of here. And like, that's a great deal. I mean, if you've got the ability to carry a car out of there, well, you're walking out with a $50 car.
Exactly.
And so that's the thing. Like there are parts everywhere for these interchangeable. And again, with my car, mine's a 2020 Cadillac, but that's a Chev. And I knew that. I did that specifically because if things start to go on it, it's still old enough, built pre-COVID, that I can swap out Chev parts. I don't need to put on these fancy upscale Mercedes parts or whatever. I'm still spending rock bottom prices on used parts. And so that's the thing. There's a ton of these cars that were wrecked from the back that you can get front parts from. And there's a ton of these cars that were wrecked from the front that you can get back parts from. There are parts everywhere. But the number one complaint from your circle of friends who don't share your vision is it's going to be hard to find parts for.
And I understand people say that because they care. Like, no one's saying it essentially to shit on your dreams. I'm sure there's one or two people that will do it just to be a shit sayer. But most people live in that scarcity fear mindset. They're like, oh, what if something goes wrong? You won't be able to find parts. I understand that, but do think about it. If you've actually gone down these holes and
what if something goes right? How many experiences are you going to have?
Exactly. And I offloaded my sexy Lexi Lexus that was costing me $1,400 a month. The van will be paid off in if I use the loan, which I didn't because that's a prison of debt. If I paid it, what am I trying to say?
If you considered it rent, for example,
exactly,
it's paid off in 5 months.
Exactly. So there you go. Like it's not something that I was like, it doesn't make sense to me. I followed the intuition, and this is what intuition and self-led living is all about. What feels called to me. It's not about duplicating what other people say. So just because I did it doesn't mean you guys all need to offload your expensive vehicles and buy a camper van and whatever. This is my life. This is my experiences. This is my journey, and this is what I feel called to. What do you feel called to? What is your desire? What have you always longed for? And why are you waiting until 60 to do it? And I know a lot of you are going to be like, oh, because I don't have the money, I don't have the time. Those are all systems and constructs we are all given to make us feel like we can't do it. Whatever you can do, take your talent, take your skills, take whatever you have within you, because you have something amazing about you.
Something built from within.
Turn it in to a side hustle. And I guarantee you, if you're actually authentically building something that is tied to who you are as a person, not because you saw someone on TikTok say, I bought these things off of Alibaba and now I sell them for billions of dollars. That's a wash, rinse, repeat. That's making that person rich. When you are authentically creating something and putting it out there as your side hustle, I guarantee you one day you're going to look back and be like, wow, that side hustle took over my shitty job.
Yeah. No, this was I mean, that honestly, we could talk for hours and we probably will. I mean, there's a lot we got to talk about, but that was a great way to end this episode. And we're at exactly an hour. So
I know.
That's a nice little soundbite for the ladies and gentlemen.
Well, thanks for joining me, Adam. I always appreciate having these conversations with you. It's so nice to be able to have these conversations and riff it, and keeping me in flow when I go off on a tangent. So welcome. Thanks everyone for joining the Conscious Journey podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, follow along, share this with someone that could benefit, because that is literally how we are going to transform ourselves within, is by acknowledging it and sharing these great information. So until next time, we will see you, and follow us on Instagram, builtfromwithin.co.